the food security bill just this week. Now the Lok Sabha has passed the new land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement bill. Through this bill, farmers will get 4 times the market price of their land in rural areas and twice the market value in urban areas. Does the bill restore much needed land rights to farmers, or is the bill anti-industry? We'll get to those questions in just a bit. First, let's hear some reactions coming in from politicians. Let's first get you a reaction from Kapil Sibal of the Congress Party talking about the new land acquisition bill.
This act is meant for the farmer. This act is meant to redress hundreds of years of injustice to the farmer, where he was not able to get an appropriate price for his land when it is acquired by government and the private sector, and government was acquiring for the private sector and the private sector was making a killing.
It's a land for the farmer, says the UPA. But the Confederation of Indian Industry has reacted. They have expressed concern. The statement from the CII says, and I quote, "Industry has serious concerns on some of the provisions of the land acquisition bill passed by the Lok Sabha in the parliament today. The cost of land acquisition is now likely to increase 3 to 3.5 times. The resettlement and rehabilitation cost is also likely to go up by about 3 times. Before we get to our panel who are joining us tonight, let's get you a quick update from our National Bureau Editor, Bhupendra Chaubey, who's joining us. Bhupen, take us through that debate. The government now scoring this next goal by getting its land acquisition bill through after the food security bill just this week.
Well, you could call it the Sonia effect probably, because whether it was a food security bill or it was the land bill, these were 2 bills which were being pushed by the Congress President herself. It was Sonia Gandhi who had taken this decision that come what may, these 2 bills had to be pushed through in this session of Parliament. And when Sonia Gandhi decides, there is no way that the Congress can do anything else but to do exactly as she asked the party to do. That's what has happened with the food bill. That's what has happened today with the land bill. An 8-hour-long discussion, 390 amendments, including 157 which were moved by the government itself, finally leading us to a scenario where, by a huge consensus, the Lok Sabha today has passed this land bill. It will now come up before the Rajya Sabha, and it will just be perhaps a matter of another few days before Rajya Sabha also takes it up and passes it further. You could perhaps argue that despite this criticism which has come from some quarters, specifically the corporate class, that what will now happen to the India growth story, that maybe many companies will find it difficult to invest in India because of the increased land cost, the Congress is not looking at this as a pro-corporate or an anti-corporate bill. The Congress is aware of the fact that it was on the back foot. There were a slew of allegations related to corruption which were made against the party. It believes that by bringing in food bill and now pushing through this land bill, it believes that it could have perhaps just altered the political discourse a bit.
Bhupendra Chaubey, thanks so much indeed for getting us that update. The food bill, now the land bill, the Congress in an election year clearly hoping to gain some capital out of these 2 populist bills. Let's also get you now the reactions of Speaker Meera Kumar after the passing of the land bill.
Lok Sabha wants to work, how it works, and very good quality of debate took place.
Ma'am, do we expect more such legislations? Are we to believe that? Is it also part of the agenda now?
Well, there are things listed, and I hope they'll be clear, there'll be debate on it.
When the Lok Sabha wants to work, it can work. Those are very telling comments there by Speaker Meera Kumar. Certainly Parliament behaving very well today. In fact, a structured debate and lots of points and counterpoints being made by opposition and government just bears out the fact that when Parliament wants to function, it does. Joining us, Arvind Virmani, you are former Chief Economic Advisor to the government. Joining us, Naveen Raheja, you are Chairman and MD of Raheja Developers and President of National Real Estate Development Council. Madhuresh Kumar, you are National Organizer of National Alliance of People's Movement, a land activist, someone passionately arguing for farmers' rights, and Vivian Fernandez, senior journalist. Thanks everyone very much for being here. We're asking, is this new land bill anti-industry? Arvind Virmani, let's kick it off with you. India and the rest of Asia are in the throes of an economic crisis. The rupee is crashing. There are job losses. Things are really very bad. In this situation, when we need growth, when we need manufacturing, and when we need industrialization, do you believe that this land acquisition bill, which industry is very concerned about, they say that they are not going to be able to acquire land very easily, industrialization is not going to be promoted through this bill. Are you as anxious as the Confederation of Indian Industry about this bill as they are?
Yeah. There are basically three elements to this issue. The first one is that we've had outdated land acquisition and R&R bills for 50 years or 100 years. So a new bill was definitely needed. One expression of this was all the conflicts that have occurred over the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And my study of growth shows that if you have social conflicts, growth goes down. So a new bill was definitely needed, first point. Second point, there are two aspects of this bill. One is what is, compulsory acquisition of land by the government. That basically is a modernization of the bill that existed. As far as this is concerned, I am less worried about it because you had to have a compromise. And this is perhaps where I differ with CII and some of the other critics of the bill, that you actually need to avoid these social conflicts, you needed some kind of a compromise between those who own this agricultural land and the users in terms of industry and services. And finally, here, as I said, I'm less concerned, though there may be some elements which hopefully will get sorted out as we go along. The third area is my area of concern, which is private buying and selling of land. If people do it voluntarily, if it is not a compulsory acquisition, and here is where I have some fears that some of the bureaucratic elements that have been introduced with respect to social plans and R&R may hinder a smooth development of industry.
Right. So you are actually concerned about the development of industry, but you're also quite hopeful that a compromise has been reached between the rights of farmers as well as the need for industrialization. In that sense, the principle of eminent domain, as many have said, the principle that the government uses to acquire land has been modified in the light of farmers' rights. Let's get in a word from Naveen Raheja. You are the chairman of Raheja Developers. What do you think of this bill?
It will definitely, it was required, we admit, and we have to look at it from a real estate perspective, the infrastructure development cost, for which, when you do a colonization, you require roads, and you have to pay external development charges, which are apportioned to the developers, who are developing colonies. These payments will go up by twice in urban areas, and when we are doing it in satellite towns or in rural areas, smaller cities, there will be 4 times development charges which have to be paid, because most of the component in the EDC, IDC and development charges is the land acquisition component and compensation component. So we look at it, developer cannot pay from its pocket. So we fear that we will have to
pay more.
Load it to on our customers.
Right,
and will have to pay more.
And the cost will be passed on to your customers. Madhuresh, from the point of view of the farmer, though, there seems to be a lot in this bill that is very, very pro-farmer. 80% of affected families' consent have to be taken when government acquires land. When private acquires land, 70% of affected families' consent have to be taken. Gram Sabhas have to be included in all decision making.
Not in all decision.
Most decision making, Gram Sabhas, in case of acquisition or alienation of any land in scheduled areas, the prior consent of the Gram Sabha concerned or the Panchayat of the Autonomous District Council at the appropriate level will be taken. That's what. Well, I'll come to that in just a minute.
Ifs and buts.
There are ifs and buts, but it's been put in there. The consent of the Gram Sabha has been put in there. Gram Sabha, 80% consent. Whether cropped land or multi-crop land will be acquired, that has been left to the state government. Retrospective effect is there. The bill applies retrospectively to cases where no land acquisition has been made, in cases where land was acquired 5 years ago but no compensation has been paid and no possession has taken place, and the land acquisition process will be started afresh. So there is a retrospective effect there. So many would say that for the farmer, this is just and fair?
Well, it's not.
Okay.
I'll say why. Because
why?
Firstly, the consent provision. Even though we do ask that if the business wants to buy land, let them do it privately. Even the Parliamentary Standing Committee, both the Parliamentary Standing Committee in 2007 and 9, recent one, they rejected it. They said the government has no business acquiring land for the private corporations in clear-cut terms. It's not that we are saying. We support that, but that's what it is. None of the developed countries, US, England, whatever, there is no state government acquires, government acquires land for the private corporations. So that we want to put it on the table.
Right.
There are fears about increased cost and growth and all that. Now, if we want to do fair business, we need to have, you don't want things for free.
No, but respond to the consent question.
No,
respond to the consent question.
The consent question, yes.
Consent will have to be taken.
So,
from 80% affected families, you have to take consent. And states are also free to go up to 100%.
They're free to go for 100%.
As Shogotra Rai said, if you want 100% consent, then you're free to do that also.
But we have another question, which is that the government projects, a power plant set up by NTPC and by Reliance, in Reliance case, you need 70% consent or 80% consent, but why not for NTPC? NTPC can just do it, go and acquire forceful acquisition. Look at the number of protests. They are happening precisely because people are not being consulted.
But you don't think this bill addresses the notion of consultation and consent? Vivian, do you want to just come in here? The bill actually still does not address the issues of consultation and consent.
I'll come to that. Jagorika, this bill is a necessary corrective. After the excesses of the special economic zones that we saw across the country, and I agree with Arvind Virmani that you cannot have industrial development with social unrest. And we saw that when special economic zones were being set up, farmers came out in protest, and there was a lot of restlessness in the farming community. So I think that this is a necessary bill. It is certainly going to drive up the cost of acquisition. Vinayak Chatterjee of Feedback Consultants, which is an infrastructure consultancy, he's done a study, and it shows that if the Tatas were to acquire land in Shingur under the current act, then the price per acre would increase from 15 lakh rupees to 46 lakh rupees, 3 times more. And if you include the rehabilitation and resettlement costs, then the total cost will go up from 160 crore rupees to about 740 crore rupees for 997 acres. So that's a 4.5 times increase.
So if Tatas were to acquire that Shingur land after this bill, then the cost would be significantly higher for the Tatas than it was. 4.5 times more.
I also think that the rehabilitation, relief and rehabilitation is required. My main concern is actually in the case of delays. For example,
let me just pick you up on that in just a bit. We have Medha Patkar, I believe, on the phone line. Medha Patkar, respond to what Vivian has been saying and what Arvind Virmani has been saying, and a number of panelists also have raised that the fact is the farmer will be getting 4 times the market price in the urban areas. That's what we're learning. Twice the market price in, 4 times in rural areas, twice the market price in urban areas. 80% consent of affected families will have to be taken. 70% consent of affected families will have to be taken in the case of private. There's a social impact assessment there. States are free to decide whether they want multi-crop land or single crop land or barren crop land. So don't you believe that a large number of safeguards for the farmer have been put into this bill?
No doubt there are some safeguards, and the British Act, but it's certainly not fully satisfying for all those who are struggling over last many decades. First of all, because this act is not applicable in the case of land acquisition under tens of acts all over the country, not even the 16 central acts. Only 3 acts are covered in domain. So that is ridiculous. Right? If at all, it should cover land acquisition under whichever act it may be taking place. And next, the land acquisition, the forcible acquisition for private projects. This has not been there in any country ever. And to have it in India is shameful for the largest democracy in the world. It is certain that they have put in that 80% and 70% consent clause. But we see, Sagarika, in the cases of the slum rehabilitation projects in Mumbai, that this percentage consent is always maneuvered and manipulated. And that is what we don't want. And even the standing committee of the parliament had proposed and recommended that this must go away. There should be no acquisition by the state, because they are saying that the value or the prices of the rehabilitation cost is going up, but the prices of the land are going up, and they get land almost at the minimal rate prices. So that also, the difference is too much, giving them profit worth crores. So increase in compensation is bound to be there, but we are not satisfied with that, because that is not rehabilitation. Economic, social rehabilitation means giving them alternative source of livelihood, at least as in the case of Narmada Valley. And even here, the violation of the act is seen very clearly in the case of Narmada, but people at least have a right to fight with. So that is not granted fully. There is 1 hectare of land offered only to Adivasis.
Let me just get in, Vivian. Let me just get Vivian to respond to what you're saying, that in a number of cases the Land Acquisition Act will not apply, number of acts it will not apply.
That is true. I hope it applies to the special economic zones, because that is a big exemption.
In fact, the Rural Development Minister did say that it would apply to special economic zones.
Regarding consent, Shagorika, one of the reasons why the government is going to do residual acquisition, if there is, for example, 70% or 80% consent, is to address the issue of holdouts. For example, a large majority of people could agree, but a minority may not agree. So, you know, the minority cannot hold the rest to ransom, which is why the government has to step in. Secondly, I agree, you know, that consent has to be there, even 100% consent has to be there. But the reason why private sector might want the government to acquire is because titles in the country are never clear. And that is why, you know, when the government steps in, the titles are clear. And secondly, to obtain consent is not very easy, because people, the owners, may be all over. They may not be in that particular place. So just imagine the kind of delays. So I'm not so much bothered about the cost of acquisition as the delays that this bill is going to result in because of this, what you call the consent provisions. Because anyone can go and challenge.
Let's take a short break. We'll come back and talk about precisely those delays and the impact that the social impact assessment and the environmental impact assessment reports are going to have on industrialization. We'll come back and talk about that. As we go, let's listen to Rahul Gandhi, who was supposed to have championed this land acquisition bill. This was supposed to be his brainchild, just as food security was Sonia Gandhi's brainchild. And he has said that he's very happy that this bill has been passed.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm quite happy. Yeah, I'm quite happy. Yeah, I'm quite happy.
TV 18, and you are watching CNN IPN.
Face the People is coming to you. The Land Acquisition Bill has been passed. It is a historic legislation, a 119-year-old law. Remember, the first Land Acquisition Bill was made in 1894. It was a British law. That has been changed, and we now have a new Land Acquisition Bill more in tune with the 21st century democracy, or so the government believes. Arvind Virmani, let me read out a quote by Swaminathan Iyer, who says, "The Land Acquisition Bill is a terrible piece of work. It's a Luddite proposal that threatens all economic development." And the reason why this is because of the social impact assessment report that is mandatory, and the mandatory rehabilitation and resettlement. As Swaminathan Iyer writes, every piece of land acquired, no matter how small, would require a social impact assessment to be later reviewed by an expert committee, followed by a government survey, followed by actual acquisition proceedings. Any decision can then be challenged in the court. This will mean years of delay and a serious setback to industrialization and urbanization. He also says rehabilitation and resettlement is now mandatory for privately negotiated land purchases exceeding 50 acres in urban and 100 acres in rural. This promotes de-industrialization. Do you agree with any of these theories?
Well, firstly, I cannot agree with the very strong words used by Swami, who is a good friend of mine. But I do have concerns about the impositions on private purchase of land. Now, one thing we must remember, where I disagree with Ms. Patkar, is that this is an acquisition for infrastructure. For example, when we built the Delhi Metro, land was acquired from people. They were very unhappy. But the justification for that, so just because farmers are unhappy doesn't mean it should not be done, because there is a larger public purpose.
There's a larger public purpose there,
Madhuresh. It serves a whole lot of other people.
Well, but
so just because 10 or 50 families live on this land and they are unhappy about it doesn't mean that we can hold up development for the rest of the people.
Arvind, Madhuresh just wanted to have a word. You want to come in?
Yeah, well, just I want to say that anything social today has become a problem. I mean, we want to only deal with the business, and if the business is for profit, then it cannot be public purpose. And I think that's a basic argument. If you want to promote food processing, making chips, hotels, 5 stars, but the government.
No, but if you're taking the project over for infrastructure, if you're taking the project over for railways, if you're taking the project over for roads, then how is it for profit?
Well, the infrastructure is building a car infrastructure, but what about the buses? I'm saying the infrastructure, we need infrastructure.
If you're taking land,
not
any form of profit.
I have a different point of view on this. For example, all this elaborate paraphernalia that has been prescribed on social impact assessment, and then an evaluation by 2 social scientists, plus 2 rehabilitation specialists, plus an engineer, and all those things. All this is for show. You look at the way the environment impact assessment is being done. See, this is all that people. There are people who rubber stamp the whole thing. So what is going to happen in this whole business is that a whole lot of hucksters are getting into.
So there's a lot of scope for misuse. Madhuresh, you were arguing with Vivian the Brave, but now you're agreeing with him.
No, I'm not agreeing with him. I'm not agreeing.
For example,
why don't you agree with that?
They will, for example, what you call pass off themselves as social scientists. Someone will call themselves.
Okay, do you think that the scope for misuse is too high?
If the
scope for misuse is too high?
No. Well, the scope of misuse is so high in the same way as EIA, but what prevents the government, the regulatory authorities, from making the same EIA?
What is the need for a social impact assessment? You are saying that I'm going to construct an infrastructure project.
What is the need for a social impact assessment?
There is infrastructure.
If I am losing my land, don't I want that? How will I? No, I'm not getting money. That's
you're getting compensated for it. What is?
I'm just not getting. But there are.
An infrastructure project is by its very definition something for the public good. So where is the need for a social impact assessment?
If it's infrastructure, then why there is so much toll?
And the committee has veto powers.
How would you define social impact is the question. How would you define social impact? If you're getting compensated, then what is the social impact there?
Okay, I am a machuara there in that area. I don't own land or anything, but my livelihood is dependent there. How are you going to compensate for me? Are you going to provide me alternative job? Tell me.
The relief and rehabilitation says all those things. The relief and rehabilitation says, for example, if you are a fisherman and the land is acquired for a dam.
Let me tell you, in Narmada Dam,
but Vivian, that really
Barhi Dam or any of the dams, has any of the people got any fishing rights? None of the people have got any fishing rights.
Often
so I'm just saying,
that is a question of implementation.
The easy way out is adopted. You give them a lump sum and you don't give them an alternative livelihood, and they fritter away the lump sum, and the alternative livelihood is not provided. That's the point there. You have to, in fact, give someone an alternative livelihood and alternative living.
Relief and rehabilitation, for example, says that you are entitled to a job. If you don't want a job, you're going to get 5 lakh rupees. If you don't want 5 lakh rupees,
30 years of service, 5 lakh compensates.
No, if you are fired. If you don't want 5 lakh rupees, you are going to get 2,000 rupees per month for the next 20 years.
So you're saying the money is not enough. It's just not, the money is not enough.
It's not money, just alternative source of livelihood.
You have to look at the loss of your surroundings, the loss of your livelihood. You can't just say that take the money and be happy.
If I'm a farmer, all I know is farming. You take away 100 acres or 5 acres.
A job is going to be provided. They're also going to have fishing rights and all that. For example, if it's a dam. So I don't understand.
I'm saying that's on paper. The best. Let me tell you. Historically, the Narmada Water Dispute Tribunal is the best in terms of R&R. Best. Compared to this is nothing. 30 years of a struggle. What has happened there?
So you're talking about implementation.
So I'm talking about implementation.
We're going to have to end here. Clearly, as Jairam Ramesh says, no one is too happy with this bill. Industry is not too happy. The land rights activists are not too happy. And he believes that this is a sign that he has done something right. Well, has he done something right? Only how the new land acquisition bill is implemented will tell us that. Thanks very much indeed to all my panelists for joining me. What have you been telling us? Is this an anti-industry bill? 65 are saying yes. Thanks so much for watching this special edition of Face the People on the land acquisition bill, which has just been passed. As we go, let's leave you with the inimitable Lalu Prasad Yadav giving his views on the new bill. Thanks for watching.
कि कॉर्पोरेट जगत का कहना है कि इस बिल के बाद भारत में इन्वेस्टमेंट करना असंभव है। क्या आप मानते हैं इस बात?
बिल्कुल गलत बात है। कोई भी इस देश में किसानों की जमीनें, कृषि हमारा अर्थव्यवस्था का रीढ़ है और किसानों के जो फर्टाइल लैंड है, हम लोगों ने कहा टे लैंड है, लो लैंड है, वाटर लॉगिंग है बिहार में, ऐसे ज़मीनों को अपना एक्वायर करे। इसमें है कि भाई जो इन्वेस्टर है और फार्मर है वो निगोशिएट करे।
लेकिन कैसे होगा सर?
राज्यों को उसमें राज्य सरकार मोस्ट ऑफ द सारे प्रॉब्लम को राज्यों को दे दिया गया।
लेकिन सर वही यही तो समस्या है। एक और आप देखिए रुपया